friend could I find, but I was praying both night and day. I was praying to Jesus to show me the way. Now I am a soldier. I am fighting at the front, and I know I'm gonna win, for Jesus is waiting at the end. My friends, they all forsake me. They never visit my home, just me and my family. With Jesus we live alone. How I wish that my children would come to me and say, "Day, I found Jesus, and now I'm home to stay." You know, that's about the first song I ever learned to sing in the church. Old brother that I first heard sing that, he wasn't the one that wrote it. The first brother I ever heard sing that. You know, he couldn't read a word. Very uneducated. And no doubt this world really looked down on people like that. But that man had a profound influence on me when I started praying. When I got concerned about the condition of my soul, and I got scared about going to hell. I just did. If you never get scared of going to hell, I'm afraid you'll never do anything about it. Because it's very real. And I think a lot about those old brothers and sisters, and most of them's gone on now. Brother JC's gone. His cousin, Brother Covis, is gone. Think about all those, Brother Larry, that we used to go to church with.
Amen.
But if you was to pray just for a minute at a time, that God would lift me up here, that we could feel that spirit, and we would feel like shouting here today.
God bless.
As we ought to,
Yeah.
because of what He's done for us here. And you know what? One of the greatest sermons that we can preach to this world is just for them to see us rejoicing in
Yes.
the Lord.
Yeah.
There you are.
Don't you understand that it's by love and kindness? It's through God's mercy that we draw this world in. We don't need to stand here and judge people. This cruel world's already the sun coming down on everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we've got anything here that we need to do, why we need to be showing this world the love today, and showing them how the love of God, it will never forsake them. Listen, today, you know what? Let's pray just for a minute of time. People, today, God is so good and merciful to us here. I want to listen. One of the old writers, why when he wrote, and he said, "O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me today. Thou knowest my down sitting, Lord, and you know my uprising. God, thou understandest my thoughts from a long ways off today." And I'm glad that's the way that it is, because He knows our hearts. We mess up in this world. Brandon, pray just for a minute of time. That God would loosen up my throat a little bit. Trying to preach is so hard. I struggle with trying to preach, but when God moves in, listen, and fear moves out, and nature moves out. You talk about joy, Larry. You know what I'm talking about. There's nothing that I love more in this world than for God to just set me on fire here. Lord, thou compasses my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. I'm glad that my Lord knows me. I'm glad that my Lord watches when I close my eyes at night. He's right there in the morning when I open them. Listen, you know what? We've got a good close family here, a family of friends and loved ones here, and there's nothing we wouldn't do for each other. But oh God, but there's coming a time when I'm going to hear somebody else call my name, and it'll be a joyous time for me when I hear my name called. Oh God. And the writer said like this, "For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it all already." Oh God. And he said, "Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Why, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? People, my Lord's always there. I've never been so low in the valley, but why my Lord wasn't there? And he said, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there, Lord. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there, Lord. Oh, God, if I take the wings of the morning, listen, and fly away, and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Oh, God, I hope, oh, Brother Charlie's family. Listen, you know what? Our Brother Charlie and Sister Rebecca are highly educated people. Their whole family is. And they've got lawyers and doctors in their family. Listen, pretty well to do compared to a lot of us. But you know what? When I go down there, listen, for church, I'd always spend the night with them. They'd always beg us to come stay with them. Such a pretty home they had. Just everything in its place and beautiful. But you know what? Oh, God. And we'd stay up and talk at night. And they just couldn't be good enough to us. Making sure we had food and something to drink. And you wake up in the morning there and you could smell breakfast cooking. Listen. And they always teased because breakfast was Brother Charlie's job. He's the one that always cooked it. And we'd come down the stairs from the room they'd give us, and he'd have everything out. Biscuits and gravy and eggs and just you name it. And the table would be covered. Oh, God, oh, my Lord. And you know what I noticed? So, and then we'd be at breakfast, and while we'd be eating, some of his kids would stop by, and some of their grandkids would stop by and grab them some breakfast and head on out the door. Listen here, people. Why? And I hope that his whole family understands that while in this world here, Brother Charlie and Sister Rebecca, they did pretty good, but more important than that, God, they tried to teach them the most important thing that they could teach them. And you know what? I was reading this morning, and if you go back all through the Bible here and read the stories of all these patriarchs and the works that they did, you know what they all had in common? There came a time when they knew they had to lay down the walks of this world here. Listen. Even old Abraham, the father of faith, there came a time when he, had to leave this world and bid him goodbye. And you just read right on through his son Isaac, listen all the way down, and Jacob, why the same way. And you know why? What most of them did before they left this world, they'd call them their children around. And they'd give them a blessing, wouldn't they? Oh, God. And you know what? Listen.
What they said?
With their last breaths, they'd call them around, and they'd put a blessing out there, and they would charge them to serve God all the way through. Oh, God. And you know what? And even old Jacob, and Joseph, when they left, and they were down in Egypt, and Jacob said, when I die, take me home, take me home, and bury me. And they did that. And you know what? Joseph told them he was living down in Egypt when he got old, and they said that he saw his children's children down to the third generation, sat him on his knee. Listen, why? And when he got ready to leave, he told them, God's going to bring you out of here and going to take you home again. He said, so when you go home, take me with you. And you know what they did? They buried Joseph in a coffin, something they didn't used to do back then, but they just put him in a little coffin, and hundreds of years later, they took that coffin with them. Oh, God, when Moses led them out of trouble, heading home, they took Joseph with them. Why? They went on their way. But even Moses, he was 40 years old. Why? The first time he left Egypt, I think it was. And why? And 40 years later, God sent him down to Egypt, and that made him 80 years old. Yeah. And you know why? He led him out of there for 40 years. Why? And he was 120 years old, and they came down, and he could see home, couldn't he? Right across the river. And God said, well, you brought him home, but you're not going with them. I need you to come up on the mountain. I need to talk to you up here. Listen, wouldn't you love to hear that?
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't you love to hear the Lord say, I need you to come over here. I want to talk to you. Oh God. I believe that's the call that Brother Charlie heard a couple days ago. Listen, and guess what? He was looking at home, wasn't he? And God, he finally called him. Called that name.
Bless you.
And you know what the Bible says? It said Moses at 120 years old, he answered that call and he went up on the mountain. And the Bible says at 120 years old, his strength had never left him. Still, the strength of a young man. You think about that. He was healthy as could be, but he knew he was leaving this world. Oh God. Why? And old Joshua took over for him. And the Spirit of God was all over him. And he took him across the river, didn't he? But you know what? And many works and wonders did he do. Why? As he led him across. Why? But you know what? When his time came, guess what? When he was an old man, he called them together and he said, today I go the way of all the earth. I'm leaving you. And I thought this was a peculiar thing. He had a big rock brought up and he put it next to an oak tree there where he gathered them up and he talked to them about God. He talked to them about everything God had done to him. And he said, God's done all these things, so you need to choose today who are you going to serve from now on. You need to make up your mind who you're going to serve. He said, choose you this day whom you'll serve. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Oh God. And he said, and this rock here that he had set up, he said, this rock, it's the witness. It's heard everything you've said. It's heard you say you're going to serve God. Listen, and that rock, he used that because it symbolized something that was never going to decay. Something that was always going to be there. Would always, just like, that's why my Lord, listen, he's a tried stone, a precious stone. He is the foundation, the chief cornerstone. People today, I want to ask you, what are you holding on to? What do you have? Listen, that strengthens you. What do you have in the morning when you wake up? What do you have in the evening when you lay down? If you don't have the Lord, people, it's real. This is not a game here. This is not make-believe. Listen, I told you when I first started that trying to preach is the hardest thing. Listen, but the Spirit of God is real, and when the Spirit of God moves, it confuses this world here, and they don't understand it. This is not a clubhouse I'm talking about. This is not, listen, a business here. You should have seen a couple days ago, you should have seen that lawyer, we was closing on this building, and he said, I guess you're incorporated and under an LLC and all these things. And I said, no, we do not incorporate. We're not a business. And he said, well, but you got to do those things. Oh, God. Listen, because you got to have your LLC, to have your payroll, and to do all these things. This world just don't understand why this church didn't hire me. Listen, 30 years ago, why I got drafted into this thing. Listen, and I didn't come willing. Why? My Lord, listen, He's my captain, and He called me to the fight, and He sent me to the front lines, and I wouldn't have it any other way today. People, are you ready to go home? Are you ready? Oh, God, I'm glad. Why? And the Bible says that in the last day, listen, that Jesus, He's gonna leave heaven with a shout.
Amen.
You know what else it says? It says, those that are asleep in Jesus, He's going to bring with Him. Listen, no doubt, shed, your papa's going to come. Why? Brother Charlie's going to come. Jesus is going to bring them. Are you ready to go, people? Are you ready to show this world where you stand? We don't have time to lose. This world is so confused about what religion is. They really believe that religion is what's going to take you to heaven. They really believe that religion, paying their tithes, and all those things are going to do something for them. I worry so much that it just gives them a false sense of security. We don't do an altar call here because we don't want anybody to think that this church, you come up here and bow down and you're going to get saved. Your altar could be in your car. Could be on your bed at night. That's where I found mine. I've heard Larry preach about laying flat on his face in his garage. There's your altar call. It's between you and God.